Hey, this is Stephen Amell, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends, the podcast. Don't fail your city.
During a trip through time, the Legends were forced to land the Waverider in Blue Valley, Nebraska, where they discovered a young superhero.
Yes.
About to take flight.
That's cool.
Who are you?
I'm Stargirl.
Welcome back to the town that solves all their season-long problems in mere moments and then happily goes on like nothing has happened. I am the very unimpressed Flash.
Or maybe it's the impressed Reverse Flash? I don't know. But this is X-Force 11, and I'm snacking on some blueberry muffins while my ring is recharging.
Nice.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, the Maid of Mischief Harley Quinn, and the Blue Beacon of Hope, X-Force 11.
I can do better than that, Captain.
Yes, indeed. This is going to be another interesting one. I have a feeling we are on opposite sides of the fence, neighbor. Yeah, well, let's get right into it. We got no news. We got no pre-show feedback. All we got is the finale of Stargirl. What did you think?
Okay, I gave this one 8 frenemies and family. While I took it down because Eclipso is not totally gone, he was vanquished by the end of this season without a holdover. And so that's why I took it down. And I am happy, though, that my theory about Mr. Bones and Helix being enemies next season is looking really good. And I'm happy Sylvester is sticking around to help. And it looks like this is the way Stargirl finishes season. So we can either be disappointed in that, but this is 2 seasons that they've done that, so we can either be disappointed or kind of accept that this is how they do things. They finish out the action, they kind of give us some closing thoughts and set us up for next season and move on rather than what we're kind of used to. So, I guess we're going to have to see if that holds out next season, but that's what it looks like. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to kind of go with it. So that's my thoughts, and let's hear what Flash has to say. The opposite side of the spectrum.
You're doing your best to lighten my mood by you're trying to diffuse me before we even get started tonight. I appreciate the points that you make, because it's kind of funny. I'm going to be interested to see what you say about this episode, because you're like, I knocked it down some points because of Eclipso, but the parts I really liked, and then you mentioned the very final moments of the season, the last 5 minutes is what you say you like. So I'm curious where you're going to be talking about the first half of the episode, because I do agree with you. The final moments were pretty good stuff, and I can't remember if I say that in my monologue here, but we will get to that, so I'm kind of interested. So yes, despite your diffusing efforts, I am still giving this one only a 5. A 5 hands holding me back from kicking the TV screen. I am mad, X-Force. Like, really, really peeved at the Stargirl writers and this finale. Once again, it's a rushed heap of a mess that someone vomited out in a mad dash to wrap everything up with a neat little everything is happy now bow. You don't spend an entire season building up this big villain of darkness that has proven he is unstoppable all the way through, only to have him defeated in less than 12 minutes of the finale as he becomes something completely different than he's been all season. And that's nothing but a whimsical Muppet elf that suddenly has chest beams to blast Grundy with. You don't suddenly have Starman show up and be all heroic when we haven't seen him since episode 2 as a creepy waitress stalker. You don't bring in the Crocs in the last seconds once he's already defeated just to throw tennis balls at him and a few arrows. And you don't suddenly have Thunderbolt return only to prove once again he's useless. And you very specifically don't end on a cliffhanger last week about Courtney turning dark only to have it actually happen for about 35 seconds of this episode and not even really get into a fight with any of her team. An entire season's plot line wrapped up in 12 minutes is absolutely garbage and complete amateur cowardice writing. The The only reason this even gets a 5 is because of those final moments that you mentioned, being somewhat decent enough to hope we might get another good season-long story that will most likely only be wrapped up again in half an episode. There you go. My soapbox is very, very tall tonight. All right. Let's see where we go. Let's get into this episode.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
So I broke this up into really 3 sections. One is what happened prior to the battle, then the battle section, and then the setup for next season. And so the section that takes place first, we're going to talk about different characters because that's kind of where we looked at those characters. So first up, we've got Chuck, Beth, and Shade. And so Eclipso has trapped Beth's parents in this Shadowland pocket where there's like a fake Beth chewing them out, and it's happening over and over and over, and nothing that Chuck and Beth can do can seem to break through that. And so I like that idea of making Eclipso making the battle real for Beth. Now that she's kind of stood up for herself, now she's got to try to, work and free her parents. So I like that aspect of making the battle personal for her in that way.
Well, in the fact that what else... Because we were questioning, what is she going to be able to do, her and Dr. Mid-Nite, or other than see... Because we saw it in this episode, they were able to see through a couple of the illusions, and they do eventually step in. Mid-Nite steps in to help Pat. When Pat's fighting himself, he actually stops and says, "Hey, it's not real," and kind of shakes Pat out of it. And Beth later in the sequence was able to warn Courtney when Eclipso was coming up behind her because she could see him. So there was those little elements, but other than that, like, what else was she going to be able to do? So this was an interesting scene for them that the tides got turned because trapping her parents in there who have no idea what's going on, and they think that's her, and she's forced to have to witness it. You call it a pocket. I guess that's an interesting term. It was like some kind of force field, kind of barrier, because they were banging on it, trying to get their attention, and they had no idea. And I didn't actually notice that it was like recycling itself, going over and over. I thought it was just a continuous scene, and she just kept berating them about it. But it was interesting, and I guess the fear out of it was that there was the potential that her parents could die from this, because I was trying to understand how because Eclipso kept saying Beth is watching her parents die. Well, how? What is going to kill them in there? What eventually is the pocket going to close in on them? I didn't understand where they were going to die from.
I think it's like the Shadowlands, where he feeds off of that, and then he's feeding off of that negative energy, and then it would get to a point where he could just take them over like he's done other characters, and just totally absorb them. So that's kind of the feeling that I got, which I thought was actually happening when you start to see this darkness coming out of them.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be the Shade. And so this I felt cheated on, because I know the Shade is dramatic and all that kind of stuff, and I theorized that he was still around and maybe stuck in the Shadowlands, but he says that Eclipso bringing the Shadowlands here gave him the recharge, and by the way, he's frees Beth's parents. So, but when I first saw that, I thought Eclipso was just draining the parents, because you see the darkness coming out of them, and then all of a sudden he appears. So I thought, that was like, okay, but it really cheapens his sacrifice in the other episode.
It totally does. And how many times have we seen that on shows like this? You give someone a big dramatic death, everybody's upset, and then you just only to bring them back to life. I mean, that is the plague of all of these superhero shows, is they're cheapening a lot of these heroes' deaths when the deaths are supposed to be amazing and dramatic and tearful, and then they just bring them back again. And it's like, well, and that is ruining a lot of superhero TV. So this, and I actually forgot this point. So let's rewind all the way back to my wonderful opening monologue, and I'm also going to say, and you don't bring back Shade without explaining to us exactly how and why. Because that, I agree with you, this was ridiculous. I mean, it was blatantly obvious when the doorbell rings and Barbara answers the door and she goes, "Oh, it's you." Well, who did not know that it was Shade knocking on the door there? That to me was just really silly. And but again, yeah, the fact that he shows up and he's like, "Oh, you know me, I just like to be overly dramatic," and just offhandedly explain that it's because they brought the Shadowlands here, he's able to regenerate. What do you mean? Like, we thought you died, so did you not die? You just disappeared into smoke, and now you're floating around freely in the Shadowlands as smoke, and this there was no explanation at all. Yes, I love the Shade. He's the coolest character we've had this season, but gosh, you gotta give us more than that. And I mean, let's go back to the end of the episode with him. He meets Rick out in the forest and has a nice scene with him there, and Rick just assumes he's on his way out, and he says, "No, I'm actually going to stick around. I really like Blue Valley, and you young heroes are very intriguing." Okay, that's cool. Do we get more Shade next season? That'll be cool. I mean, as long as they have him, then they've got one really classy actor part of the show next year, and that's pretty cool. But we'll have to see what they do.
Yeah, I'll get to that in my next season talk. But okay. I kind of see that. So we've got the JSA, well, at least 4 members. We've got Stargirl, Wildcat, Pat, and Shiv headed to the Foundation after Beth's call. And I like the fact that they're still bickering back and forth about having Shiv be a part of the group, and Pat's calling her out for ruining Stripe and things like that. And I appreciate that we haven't solved that drama there between everybody yet, but it's still they're not a united front that I would like, but that would have been way too quick if they said, "Okay, now we're a united front." So.
Well, it's funny you're calling her Shiv there, because that would assume she's going to be a member next season. That everybody accepts it, because they were still treating her as Cindy, and I don't think they were really accepting of her. That they know she's there due to a truce at the moment, and they're just waiting for her to backstab Courtney and everything. So, but you're right, it is fun and it's entertaining that she is with them, and nobody wants to give her the benefit of the doubt, and she just has to deal with it. And I like how she's kind of accepting of that. She's kind of like, yeah, I did screw you guys over. Okay, I'm so what do you want me to do? So I do like that back and forth with them. So if we were talking a lot throughout the season, like, don't redeem her, don't give her this big redemption arc, we don't want her to be a hero, and it looks like that's kind of what they're doing. And I wonder if they accept her as part of the team next season, are they going to fully give us this wonderful new Cindy character, or is she going to continue to be the thorn in everybody's side and the kind of gray character? That's they at least give us that. Do not completely redeem her.
Well, we're going back and forth on this already, so let's just talk about it. The next season is called Frenemies.
Right.
So, in my mind, you have the JSA, and then you've got their frenemies. You've got Shade, you've got Shiv, you've got Grundy, you've got the Crocs. And then you've got their true enemy of Mr. Bones and Helix. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he even brings up in his little talk there that, heroes and villains living side by side. So my thought is they're going to have to work, the JSA is going to have to work together with, their frenemies in order to defeat, Mr. Bones and Helix. So I don't think they're going to, I don't think they're going to redeem her. I think she's going to again be a character more akin to the Shade, where he's a gray character, and she's going to move more gray than that way. But that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Okay, well, we'll save all that next season talk for there, but just focusing on the Cindy element of it here. Yeah, I would hope that that's what they do with her. Is she stays in the gray, and maybe she dances a bit on the dark side. Maybe she does some things that they don't agree with, and it would be best for her character, because it's too hard to see her turn into a full-on goody-goody and act like Courtney and Yolanda do. I just can't see that. So
yeah, me neither. So we had some awful CGI, but we had some good CGI. I kind of like the CGI of the eclipse and the purple portals that were starting to open up in the sky, around Blue Valley and kind of connecting it to the Shadowlands. So I like that aspect of it. Some of the other CGI was really janky.
Well, pick out which parts. I'm curious which didn't look good to you.
Eclipso climbing up on the clock tower, up to the top of the clock tower.
He was kind of herky-jerky. Like they were trying to make it look like he was moving fast, but it looked unrealistic.
Yeah, that one was the one that just really stood out a whole lot to me.
Yeah, I mean the sky stuff looked cool. I don't know if we'll probably talk about Stripe. I think Stripe looked absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, he
was awesome. Thunderbolt looked good. I mean, Thunderbolt's Thunderbolt. The effects for him look cool in the scenes that he was in. But what bugged me about his scene is when, I guess we'll probably talk about it coming up, but just talking about the special effects, when Jakeem says, go electrocute Eclipso, Thunderbolt flies at him. They slowed that scene down so much and dragged it out way too long. Like, why did we have to watch him slow motion go through his body for like 15, 20 seconds? Like, it should have been a 3 or 4 second slow motion shot. It just dragged right out. I'm like, come on, get on with it. What is going on here?
I know. I noticed the second time I watched him kind of Eclipso being electrocuted, because you could see the bones.
The skeleton,
yeah. But I agree. That was just like way too. Oh gosh, come on.
Just stretched out way too much. Like So you're right. There was a lot of special effects ups and downs like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we've got Rick, and this was interesting to me because we saw him last episode looking at his dad's notes, and he is working on rebuilding the hourglass. And we had speculated that, it was magical, but it's maybe magical, but it definitely has some tech in it, because he's in there soldering and looking at schematics and that kind of stuff. And he gets it to like sort of work, but not reliably, and so you see his frustration and not being able to get it to work, pressed under the deadline, and then you just see his determination of like, this is not going to work, but I can't leave my friends hanging, so I'm going to go into battle anyway. So I'm like, when when he walked out of the pit stop with his costume in his bag, I'm like, this is not going to be good, because I had, I didn't suspect anything else. So I'm just like, oh no, he's still hot-headed. He's going out there even without his hourglass.
Yes. Now, I love Rick. He's one of my favorite characters on the show. I've said before, I just connect to what he's going through. Mm-hmm. What bothered me about this scene, I wanted to see this stretched out more, because for all we know, it's the next day. From last week's episode, it's the next day. And he only got the sands and the bits of things. So you're trying to tell me that just overnight he's able to rebuild that much, that quickly, without giving us any context to it or showing us the progress. That part bothered me. And I was also surprised that, there's electronics in it, because that also doesn't make any sense. What would electronics and circuit boards have to do with giving him strength? How does that work like that? Flipping the sands, I thought the sands were magical. So they got to give us an explanation as to how magical sand and electronic gadget combined gives him strength. That's confusing. So again, rushing through this episode without telling us anything, it just takes away so much from the believability of everything. And yeah, Rick, I mean, they also kind of put him backwards. I mean, he's working hard, he's trying, and he just gets frustrated and trashes the desk and gets all mad and goes storming off. I'm just going to go to the fight. Like, that's old Rick. We've seen him progress and learn and become better. So why did you bring him back to his old self again? And he shows up at the fight and gets what? He gets taken out in seconds. It's just, I want so much more for Rick. So that part bothered me as well.
Yeah, we'll get more into him there, but I was kind of unsure of that myself. So, we got a very quick scene of Jenny, and she's finally out of her vision, and so she's telling Barbara all about what she's seen, and they get ready to head off to the Foundation. Now, we heard a knock on the door. We never saw who was at the door.
You are throwing an amazing curveball here. You actually could be right, because I just said it was Shade, but you're saying it's
Sylvester.
Yeah, that's actually a good... That's a very likely possibility, so I may take back that I thought it was Shade that showed up. Huh.
Well, I mean, so they never showed us, so
No.
It could be Shade. It could be Sylvester. It could be the Crocs. I don't know, but I mean that's who I thought. That's who I thought.
Well, if you think about it, if take back what I said. If it was Shade that showed up, she would have said Shade, or she would have said Mr. Swift. She would, because she knows him already. So
Right.
for someone completely strange to show up and she goes, "It's you." Which I hate that line. That line gets used in so many TVs and movies. It's you. I hate that. Just say it's like, oh my God, Sylvester. What do you do? Like it's one of the worst lines in cinematic history. But so it just makes sense that it's someone she would never expect to see, someone who she hasn't seen in a long time. It makes sense that it would be him. So we'll change that up. That was probably Sylvester, which I don't know if you have him in the notes here, because that is part of, like I said in my opening monologue, the fact that he shows up out of the blue, out of nowhere, right at the end of the fight is absolutely ridiculous to me, because we haven't seen him. So the fact that he shows up here, it actually would make a little bit more sense if it was him that knocked at the door, because then Barbara would say, yes, they're fighting downtown right now, come with us, and now that gives him a reason to be there. So,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to speculate on him later too. So,
yeah, for sure. I know I'm jumping all over, but
Yeah.
I'm just bringing up points that you're reminding me of as we go here. Yeah, well, with Jenny waking up out of her vision, and they seem slow and late to reacting. It's like everybody's already on the scene, involved in the fight, and they're just like grabbing their purse and their to-go coffee mugs, and they're going out shopping. It's just weird the way they're just like headed out the door. Like, come on, it's a little bit more serious than that.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got Mike and Jakeem and Zeke, and Mike is not the most liked character by any of us, I don't think, but at least they're balancing him out, his eagerness, with Jakeem's kind of groundedness and reality. He's like, listen, I can't defeat these big bads without multiple lives in video games, and I only got one of those here. So I liked how they're using him all throughout this episode to kind of ground Mike and balance him out. So Mike's going to have to pull him to action, and Jakeem's going to have to ground Mike a little bit.
And you're so right. Like that, you're exactly right there. I agree with you that they had the interaction, the chemistry between the two of them was pretty good. But I'm going to give it to the actor playing Jakeem. His delivery of his lines and his performance is leaps and bounds ahead of the Mike actor. This is like the first full-on episode we got to see a lot of him, and already he's just delivering his lines. He speaks better. He seems to know his way around. He doesn't seem all stiff, and he's a better child actor. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more of him, but less of Mike. Go on with your next points. We'll get on with it.
So basically, and this is smart, Pat benched Mike, saying he can join the fight whenever Stripe is fixed and Thunderbolt is back. But this kind of backfires because once Thunderbolt gets back, Jakeem magically wishes for the exact part that Zeke needs to fix Stripe. Because I'm like, Zeke's kind of laying it out. Nobody has this that's open right now, so you're done. And then Thunderbolt shows up, and wish made, and they're off in the running.
Can you pave a straighter, cleaner road of predictability more than that? I don't think so. That was it, as soon as that scene started, and you just knew. You knew exactly. Like, it was so obvious setup, and it just was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It's just like, come on, like you're filming this as if us, the fans and viewers, are stupid idiots. We're not gonna see what the hell you're trying to set up. It was just. It's just bad. Zeke, I enjoyed. I thought Zeke was actually really fun here because he doesn't care what they're doing. He's just thinking, it's just boys putting together a big robot, and then when Thunderbolt shows up, he's like, oh, don't interrupt. Let me just take this all in because this is a wonderful experience. I enjoyed him.
And then he's eating all the Chinese food later.
Yeah, he's just enjoying it. He's on the walkie-talkie and it's kind of instructing Mike how to pilot the robot. So it was fun. I mean, Zeke was fun. I'll give him that for sure. But again, just too much. Yet again, plot convenience, and I rhyme them all off. Like, just all of a sudden, at the very last moment, Stripe is able to be repaired because they have Thunderbolt back to make the final wishes to get the parts they need, which I doubt could happen because you'd probably have to tell Thunderbolt an hour-long wish just to get the exact part right to get them to get it, and then you're telling me Mike suddenly knows how to pilot the thing? He's never been in it. He's never flown the thing. How the hell could he even move it down the street, let alone fly it and get in the fight? That part bothered me as well. Like, there's been no training, there's been no practice, there's been nothing, and he's going into the fight? No thanks.
Well, closing out, I wanted to put this here because at the end of the episode, they're talking about the future, Mike and Jakeem are. But what I really wanted to bring up here was an Easter egg, because we saw it a couple times during the fight and at the end. The movie marquee, the title of the movie is Prince Ra-Man, R-A-M-A-N. And I'm like, is that like a takeoff on He-Man?
Yeah.
And then, no, it is a Golden Age DC hero. Think a DC version of Doctor Strange. And when you look him up, the first cover that comes up on Wikipedia is him battling Eclipso. So he actually battled Eclipso several times, and a magic power. So I thought that was a neat little Easter egg there. That they've thrown things in all along, and some things they follow up with, and some things are just an Easter egg. But I thought that was a neat little Easter egg that we got to call out to a couple times.
Yeah, good catch there. I have to laugh because when you say Prince Raman, I'm thinking, what is he? He's royalty of instant noodles? Like, what is that?
Yeah. He's actually like, he is a Egyptian from Egyptian times, way back, so it's
that could be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, this is where we got do you have more Stripe stuff coming up, or?
Yeah, I got it in the actual battle section.
Okay,
so
I'll save it then. We'll talk about Stripe then.
All right. So I broke this down into a couple rounds with a battle because
boxing match.
We had a couple rounds here, and so Eclipso is telling the Mid-Nites that he has the power of darkness. Now he wants the power over light in order to merge the Shadowlands and our reality and kind of take over. So that's his end game. That is why he wants Courtney, is he wants that power of light. And so that's the whole call of why he wants her there. And so this first round takes place at the American Dream Foundation. And so the JSA arrive, and I thought this was interesting here because we have Eclipso causing battles, Pat versus himself, Cindy versus young Cindy, and Wildcat versus OG Wildcat. So we kind of have this battle going on between the three of them. And I like this kind of them battling themselves or their equivalent, and the back and forth, and the fact that they're evenly matched because they're basically fighting themselves. There's nobody else there. They're just fighting air, and Eclipso's making them see that.
Yeah, okay, so your first point about Eclipso wanting to merge light and dark to bring the Shadowlands into our reality. Cool concept and makes sense, and it's a great way for a villain to, like, that's the villain's purpose, but why did it take to 13 and a half episodes for us to learn that? I mean, that could have been part of the fear of Eclipso all along as to why, because like a couple of our feedbackers have said over the last couple of weeks, you have a villain that has no end game, no agenda. We have no idea what he's doing other than making people angry. So this should have come earlier in the season, and that would have given us, given us reason to fear and be worried about him. Because as this was, as much as we had a couple really strong episodes where they were just scary and creepy, it still gave us no substance as to what Eclipso was all about. And I think this would have added to that a lot to give us something to worry about. So, now talking about round one, ding, ding, ding. Two of the three fights were good. I'm going to compare this to that awful battle in the lunchroom that I just tore apart. This was better, yes, for fight choreography, for matchups, for just in general. I thought this fight was good because, remember, I was questioning last week, how are we going to fight Eclipso? He's just one silly little elf in a weird cosplay costume. How are we going to fight him? Well, we thought, okay, Dark Courtney, she's going to fight everybody. But no, everybody gets their own dark version of themselves to fight. Now, Wildcat versus Wildcat, I think, was the best of the three. That was a very strong match. It was very even. Yeah. I mean, the original Wildcat is obviously way bigger and way stronger, and I don't think Yolanda was going to be able to stand up to him. He didn't have his claws, but he was overpowering her and beating her, so she had to learn to outwit him and fight smarter than just using pure brute force. Now, Pat versus Pat, that one was fun and interesting. I mean, Dark Pat sure can throw a punch like a right hook. Holy cow. That was a good toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano. It'd be like you and me getting into a tussle. Just a plain old Tears 2 regular guys getting into a fight. I like it. Cindy versus young Cindy, absolutely ridiculous. You can't tell me that little girl could do anything to a fully trained Cindy who's been this way her whole life, and now you've got this young little... It felt weird. It looked weird. It didn't work at all. So that's why I say 2 out of 3 on this one.
Yeah. And so this made me question, okay, are they going to make Stargirl fight herself? But no, she is actually battling Eclipso. But he is ahead of every attack she makes, every move she makes. Yeah, Beth helps her out a little bit, but she's just behind. He's just ahead of her in everything. And so I liked that fact that, she's not able to hold up to him.
Well, yeah, it had to be. You've got the main hero versus the main villain, so it's a good matchup. But what bugged me is Courtney is not learning. All she keeps doing is blasting the energy bolts. It's not working. How many times are you going to shoot at nothing before you realize this isn't working? So I was like, she's blowing the place up or whatever. So finally at the end, I loved when he got behind the table and she jumps up over the table and just swings the staff down hard, cuts the chandelier in half, cuts the table and the chair in half. Okay, that was a cool move. Awesome. You should have thought of something like that 5 blasts ago, because you're a little bit slow in realizing. So I was yes, this is cool, but come on, Courtney, smarten up.
Yeah. So we get the Mid-Nites help, Chuck Chuck helps Pat to see nobody's there. We talked about Beth helping Stargirl out. They're helping everybody see that this is just an attack of Eclipso, and you have the United team taking on Eclipso, and he just pushes them all back with the purple wave there, and Wildcat is knocked out. And then we get to see Stargirl and Shiv thrown out the second or third floor, window, and that was just surprising to me. And then, so you've got Charles has got to go help Yolanda out because he's an actual medical doctor. But I thought this upped the stakes, continued to up the stakes that he's powerful. I agree that did they follow up on this? No, but I like that they were upping the stakes. That it even United, it's hard when he's as powerful as he is.
Okay, I'll give you that one little point that yes, this sequence showed us that Eclipso is something to reckon with. That they can't take him out, all of them like that, just facing him down in the office building there. But this is where the entire battle sequence takes a turn for the worst. Where it was good up to this point, but the choreography and the physics and everything just took a nosedive from here on out. That when they all were facing him in the office room and he blasts them with whatever that was, it wasn't even so much a blast. He like slid towards them like he was sliding on ice. He does this like cross the room slide and hits him with this purple barrier thing, which sends him back. And that looked ridiculous. It looked ridiculous that he's just sliding along the carpeted floor or whatever it was. Silly. And then when, like you said, when Stargirl and Shiv get thrown out the window, the physics on that were all wrong because you see them go up and out the window, and they should have actually just kind of fallen and gone down. But instead, they had this like straight line trajectory where they're like on a cable wire, woo, gliding across the parking lot. And I'm like, that's not how they would fall. They didn't get blasted straight out. They got blasted up and through the window, and so they should have had a trajectory of falling down. It looked bad. So, yeah. And then I think we'll get into it more as your rounds come along. But so I'll keep tearing this apart, and I'll tell you why the Eclipso choreography just wasn't working. It's silly. So on to round 2.
Yeah. So he's basking in that start of victory when Stripe takes him down, and I really like the horn and him getting knocked off his little pedestal that way. I mean, I saw it coming a mile away that Stripe was going to take him down, here. But in this battle, I did like getting to see the chainsaw and the flamethrower in action. I thought that was really cool.
Okay, let's go from bad to good here. Eclipso standing on the rooftop and proclaiming, I am near my victory! And, oh my god, can you get any cheesier than these poorly written lines and absolutely atrocious delivery by that actor, who I usually like, and I've liked him and everything else. Mm-hmm. It's complete cheeseball, corny, dumb. I hated his whole delivery and everything there. Now, yes, we saw it coming. Stripe takes him out. It was awesome. And then he lands on the ground. Again, really poor physics here, because when Stripes hits him, he starts falling down, but then his trajectory changes and he flies straight a little bit into the car, and then the way they made the cars move didn't actually work either. Like, the cars did not pile up on each other properly. The whole thing was just put together poorly. But anyway, when they get to the fight, when him and Stripe are facing each other, when Stripe pulls out the chainsaw arm, that was probably the best moment in the whole episode. It was awesome because the sequence, I actually felt like we were watching Street Fighter, the video game or something, because they're each doing their own moves, and it was fun. I mean, seeing the chainsaw was cool, seeing the flamethrower was cool, listening to Zeke instruct him on how to do it, it was all cool. And then it kind of surprised me that Eclipso was just standing there holding the chainsaw and being cut apart by it, but it's actually not doing anything to him. I thought, holy crap, okay, so that massive chainsaw's not even facing him. Jeez.
Yeah, and this is where Jakeem and Thunderbolt will land, and we've talked about the fly through electrocution. I mean, I knew that wasn't going to work. I mean, but I thought that something else was going to happen, but then Eclipso using Thunderbolt to basically EMP Stripe. That was an interesting turn there. I liked that was. What did you think of the CGI of the electrocution there?
Okay, all of that was actually cool. Let's get past it. I already talked about the slow motion part. That part was poorly done. Again, it's Thunderbolt proving that he's actually useless in a fight. He hasn't done anything. That's 2 times now he's flown out to be the hero, and he sucks. But I like that Eclipso grabs him by his butt, swings him around like a hammer, and throws him at Stripe there, and then Stripe's being electrocuted, and you see all the electrocution and the components frying and fritzing out. Mm-hmm. Yes, very well done, and a cool move. I will give Eclipso the nod on that one. It was a very cool move, and it's a good way to take Stripe out. Even though Stripe wasn't even hurting him, it was still a cool move to take him out. Yeah. Stripe's done. Yeah. So, I mean, yes, he had all these cool weapons, but once again, Stripe, he's easily taken out by one attack only. Every single time, he's beaten by one move. So, anyway, but it looked cool.
Yeah. So, this is where Rick shows up, and I was like, okay, this is going to be bad.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get, I thought Rick was going to be hurt badly, or possibly we might even lose him here.
Yeah. But this shows me where he has grown some, because he knows that he doesn't have the power, and he didn't just immediately go to the battle. He went and found Grundy and 6 Grundy on Eclipso. I thought that was really smart and mature of Rick to realize that he's going to be hurt, and yeah, he does end up getting hurt, but only after Eclipso takes out Grundy. But I thought this was real growth for Rick here, that he's smart enough to bring Grundy along since he doesn't have the power.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Rick realized he doesn't have the strength, and I think someone was yelling at him as he was leaving, like, "Wait, what are you doing? You don't have your strength." Yeah. And I'll find her, whatever he said. It was cool that he went to get Grundy. I was like that when Jakeem asks him, "Who's that?" and he says, "It's a friend." That was cool too.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, Grundy provides the strength and gives Rick that backup that he needed. But I'm just going to go into your next point here. I'll sort of lead it, because it was cool to see Grundy get in the fight and then start laying a beat down on Eclipso, or as much as he could. Pound him if you... And I tell you, though, I was so reminded of the Avengers. I was waiting for Grundy to go, "Puny God." The way he was bashing him around, right?
Oh, yeah.
A la Hulk style. So, but he didn't. And then... So, I'll let you share your thoughts after my point here. So, it was cool, but then, again, it turns around. Here's where the poor fight choreography comes in. Eclipso's down on his butt against the wall, and Grundy goes to punch him, and little tiny Eclipso stops the punch, and from a sitting position, pushes Grundy away, and then gets up and does this chest beam. Like, where does that come from? That was like Robotech or some old manga anime, Japanese anime. All of a sudden, he's got this chest beam that he can fire out, so that I was like, what the? But it takes, I cannot believe the hole in Grundy's chest that caused. Holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed getting to see Grundy kick Eclipso's butt, but here's my thoughts, and I really wish they would have shown us, more of Eclipso feeding during the season. Not just the scenes that we saw, but him feeding on every day, the people. We got to see a little bit in the diner, okay. But to see him powering up, to see some of those abilities, because we have not seen anything like this in his battle before. And so I'm like, okay, I mean, where did this strength and power come from? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Hence giving us some substance to believe why Eclipso's that. I mean, that's why we were asking all along, how is he going to fight? How are they going to fight this guy? What's this final fight going to be like? And it to me, it's a big letdown the way it turned to what it turned into, because it's just him, and he's not intimidating. He's not. Anyway, but the other point that bothered me is once he took Grundy out and Rick steps in to fight him, it just, again, the worst written lines for Eclipso. I mean, he doesn't have to sit there, who are you? You don't have your super strength to fight me. Oh my God. Can you get any worse written lines? It was so cheeseball. I couldn't stand Eclipso. He's the worst villain of all time. Absolute worst. And we'll talk about that later, but anyway.
Well, we had a short round 3 where Eclipso is basically twisting and breaking Pat's arm. And of course, Courtney chooses the darkness to try to fight Eclipso. And this is what he's been waiting for all along, is for her to embrace that darkness so that he can take her over.
Okay, are we talking about the entire Dark Courtney in this round 3?
Well, I mean, it's yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah. So
because my first question is, all it takes is for Courtney to say "I hate you," and that's all he needs to be able to that's choosing darkness because you hate somebody, because you felt the emotion of hate for a moment. That's choosing the darkness. Like that, to me, I think she would have to take a lot more drastic measures to be choosing darkness. Mm-hmm. And so that just didn't vibe or didn't jive or play out very well at all. And I felt bad for Pat. It looked like Eclipso was seriously hurting him, so that sucked to watch. I thought, oh my God, Pat is not going to come out of this very well. He's getting hurt. I don't like seeing that, because Pat, I think, is also in the top 3 favorite characters of the show.
Oh, yeah.
But just to have Courtney change like that, I'll give it that it was cool the way Eclipso took her over. It was kind of disgusting. He grabs her by the throat, and he basically reverse vomits himself down her throat. It was pretty gross. And the effects, everything with her turning dark and all that stuff is very, very cool. I like all of that. Mm-hmm. But you heard me. I'll just reiterate what I said in my opening scene there, because I'm curious how you felt about it. The fact that she's dark, she's now dark. All she does is walk around the town a little bit. Cindy comes up and grabs the staff. Yolanda comes up and grabs the staff. She pushes her away, and that was it. That was all the Dark Courtney we got, because it was at that point that Starman comes in, and we can save that moment if you want, but that's all we get of Dark Courtney. That was it. And that, to me, is the biggest letdown. They should have let her kick her team's ass, defeat them all, and end the season in a shroud of darkness, going, holy crap, what are we going to do to get out of this?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, I think the hard part is we, as podcasters, are better at writing.
We are
sometimes, and we definitely experienced that last season on Legends in a big way.
Yeah,
and I agree. I would have loved to see them do that carried over, but this is. It's geared toward a younger audience, and I don't.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not specifically geared towards kids, but it's geared towards a younger audience. I just don't know. I think, like you, I think it would take a lot of bravery for them to do that, to carry that over to the next season. I mean, we knew going into this season we had a third season, but yeah, I agree. This whole section of it, I didn't like the majority of it because it was just so quick a turn.
Well, you know what? Even just to add a point onto that, yes, defeat Eclipso by the end of this episode. How about get rid of all of that nicey stuff at the end and give us 10 minutes of Dark Courtney kicking her team's butt and seeming like all hope is lost, and then them finding a way to turn it around. Starman showing up on the scene, everyone stepping in to fight. Give us a much more extended period of her going dark and making us feel like, oh crap, we're in trouble. Give us that emotion because she is beating everybody up. That even would have been better. And then still beat him in the end. Just get rid of the nicey stuff, because we had 20 minutes left of the episode when he was already defeated. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. So, and this may play into future seasons. We get this exposition from Eclipso about Cosmo, and it sounds different than the comics, than what I've read. It says that he says the staff is a spiritual conduit of enlightenment and the power of creation itself.
It has the power of creation itself,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot to throw at us.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, and I don't know if they're going to build off of that in the future, because maybe we have seen Starman and Stargirl use it for one thing, but maybe they're limiting what they're using it for, and it can be used for more, and Eclipso knew that. So I think that's something to think about going forward, that it's not just this, blast and flight thing, that it could be used for something more. I don't know.
But you know what, X-Force, that ties into Starman saying, I'm going to teach you how to use that thing. Maybe he does know the staff can do a lot more, so that probably ties together with it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're going to get to see some more of that, and I'm grateful for that. And so I want to talk about Starman / Sylvester, because earlier this season, you had this theory of somebody else playing Sylvester.
Because he was weird. He was creepy.
Right. And you have him here in this episode, and he helps Courtney out, and the staff seems to, recognize him. So does Courtney through the staff.
Yeah, she felt it, she said, yeah.
But I'm still a little leery, because he's going to stay, and he's going to train her, and we know that he is... He's going to be there next season, because he is a season regular next season. But the little talk that he gave at the end about, school and everything, I'm still wondering if maybe it is Sylvester, but how he came back is meaning that he is possessed by somebody else as well in order to come back. Like, did he have to pay a price? Is there somebody tagging along? Because he Pat says that he's going to tell them later how he came back. So I'm just curious, like, do we really? It seems like it's him, but it seems like there may be something more too.
I sure hope we get the explanation of how he came back, because Courtney even said, you saw the dead body, and Pat's like, yeah, I did. Yeah. He was dead, okay. So where and how does he come back? Someone had to bring him back to life. I have no idea. Like, we have no idea what it could be, or what I mean, does it have anything to do with the crisis event? Did Oliver bring him back to life? I have no answers for this, so they better bring that around, because it is weird. Like you said, the staff acknowledged him, the staff recognized him, it worked for him, so he was able to add his life force, whatever it is that the staff works with, to Courtney's to be able to help defeat Eclipso. So it is really him, but there's got to be something else there, unless they're just going to completely forget about 10 episodes ago that he was a weirdo.
Yeah. Here's a crazy theory. maybe he is going to be... We know in the comics, and even in the animated, there has been more than one Dr. Fate. And we've had Dr. Fates coming back from the dead. So I'm wondering if he is going to be the new Dr. Fate. If we'll see. He doesn't need to be Starman anymore, and he doesn't need the staff anymore.
Yeah.
Because he's the new Dr. Fate. That's my crazy theory.
Well, I like it because Dr. Fate, I mean, he's changed hands a few times. It's whoever wears the helmet gets to be Dr. Fate, so...
Right,
yeah.
Right. And they're not... They're like... The person is not like... It's not their who they were before they put on the helmet. It's kind of a combination. So... That was my crazy thought. I didn't even get that into the notes because I just had it earlier today. So we'll see how that turns out next season.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of thoughts, you actually made me think of something a couple points back when you were talking about it being a show for a little bit younger audience, and you actually you made me think you are correct there, and that could be the glasses that I need to look through at this TV show when watching it, and not expect so much adult, properly written, better drama and storylines. Because if you guys remember the first season, I've got Patty Spivot with me, and then we have her daughter who was sending us in feedback, little X23 she called herself. She's now too shy to send feedback in. I don't know what happened, but she's too shy. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to say. She's all shy now. Sure, she won't. But she's sitting beside me, watching this with us, and she's absolutely freaking out and having a grand old time while watching this, and she's 12 years old. So that could be the thing. It is geared towards that age of audience because none of that stuff bothered her. She loved it, and then she went up to bed, and me and Patty Spivot, I'm curious what her feedback is going to be. She's like, I hope you didn't like that because I sure didn't. So I'm like, there you go, 2 adults, The 12-year-old loved it. So yeah.
I mean, so the recovery was way too quick. I mean, I like Sylvester helping Courtney and encouraging her by saying, that the staff chose you, and we get the montage. Yeah, it was cheesy, and we get Pat's message of being yourself because he talked about how his dad reminded him to be himself.
Oh, I mean, you're talking about when they're spinning around in the air with the staff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
I don't think I have any more room in my mouth for more cheese, man. But
yeah. So that was cheesy to me. So we'll leave it there. So,
yeah, the idea is the concept that's there that they're trying to portray is cool. If they had Starman involved earlier on and not have him show up in the exact moment that he needed to show up during the final fight, if there was some context there to lead up to her not believing in herself and he's been helping her, trying to get her to, then he grabs the staff, then the two of them work together, and he gets this moment with her, it would have been something. But yes, this moment ended up being over the top cheesy. And I mean, Pat throwing in his line, like too much. And everybody standing around, yeah.
So she's freed. But the next thing I want to go on to is we were, thinking about, okay, who did Cindy call last episode?
Ghostbusters.
We knew, we speculated, it was Artemis.
We did.
But it turns out it was her entire family that Cindy wanted. And so Artemis broke the Crocs out of prison. I'm like, okay.
Well, so Artemis was who she called, and she said, everybody get here. So Artemis, she was telling Artemis to go get her parents. So Artemis went and broke her parents out of prison. But, bring them into why did they show up after the fight was already over?
I know.
That's so stupid. Let's see them get into it. We could have had a massive physical battle between Grundy, Hourman, the Crocs, and Eclipso, and have this big toe-to-toe confrontation. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's already laying on the ground, half dead and defeated, and you just see a bunch of tennis balls fly in, and then a few arrows. Like, it's so silly. Just dumb.
Yeah. In my mind, they could have split this episode or doubled the length and made the battle better. Much better.
Yep. Because it was so fun to have them back.
Yeah.
And we'll talk. I mean, do you want to talk about the fact that they got broken out of prison and then the next morning they bought a house and are moving in? Well, what happened to them breaking out of prison? Is that suddenly okay, or they get a pass?
Yeah, I have no clue. I mean, once again, they're set up as frenemies for next season, but where's the fallout? Because, like...
You got broken out of prison, yeah.
Prison, and you go back to the town where you were caught in.
Yeah.
I mean... I just don't know.
Oh, these Stargirl writers, yep. Finales are not their forte. Season-long storylines, great. Finales, they don't know what to do.
No. So, yes, I wanted to see Eclipso get blasted, and we got this talk about from Shade last episode, and now, or the other episode, we got the talk last episode from the original Doctor Mid-Nite about the people with light within.
Yes.
But Shade tells the people with light to blast Eclipso. And yes, it was fun getting to see Starman and Stargirl blast with the staff and to see Jade use a ring. Jakim's wish, I didn't even like... I saw the blast, but I missed the first go-round of Jakim's wish to make him toast.
Yeah.
Until I'm like... So they made him literal toast. I'm like, he's not dead. He's just toast. He's not
burnt toast.
He's not in a diamond. Like, how easy is it going to be for him to come back? I mean, I wanted him to be not finished.
Uh-huh.
And, the ability to come back in future seasons.
So are they gonna go get a bigger jewelry box to keep this piece of toast in?
Are they gonna go to Diablo Island and get a black diamond that's the size of a piece of toast?
It doesn't. I mean, there was no explanation. Is he completely defeated or is he not? Is he actually inside the toast as some spiritual energy or what, or is he completely dead? He's a piece of toast, hence he's dead. And if Thunderbolt can simply do that, why didn't they do that earlier? Just wish him to be toast earlier. Or, I wish he was a wrench. I wish he was a...
Well, I mean, it was that wish combined with the staff's power and then the Green Lantern that blasted that actually did it.
But
none of them by themselves, but still, I'm just like...
But aren't you also let down? You love the Lantern stuff so much that the only part of Jade we get is at the very final moment she comes in and blasts her green energy into him, and that's all we got. Like, I thought she was supposed to be the key light source.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, and I don't know. Again, we'll talk about this, but it sounds like she's going to play a part in next season because of stuff going on. But yes, not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Now, the whole point of them blasting, okay, it's cool. You got the staff energy, you got the green ring energy, and even Thunderbolt, he was firing a lot of pink energy into it. So, I mean, yeah, that moment was okay. It was kind of cool with everybody standing around staring at him, but it just... we predicted it. Like, we knew, oh, this is what's going to have to happen. They got to blast him with light to beat him, and it's just it was predictable. It was corny. It was a little bit cool. It was just it was weird. It was a weird finish, and altogether strange. And I mean, they want to be funny. Like I said, little X-23 beside me was laughing about the toast. That's perfect child humor. Yeah. So. I did chuckle a little bit. Patty laughed a little bit, but the fact of it is it's weird. It's silly and weird.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we have to we have to realize that DC is a big universe, and you have stuff that is really light, like Shazam, and then you have stuff that is like extremely dark, like Justice League Dark and Constantine,
and sometimes Batman.
Yeah, and stuff in between. And it's how do you balance out that universe, and what type of feel is your show going to have? And so yeah, they're definitely going lighter and younger. So
that's a good comparison to make, because if you look at the movies, I mean, look at the Shazam movie. It's nothing but a goof fest. Like, not what I expected at all. So I'm hoping for so much better things with the Shazam 2, and especially with Black Adam. I cannot wait for Black Adam.
Oh, yeah.
But Shazam itself was completely just silly. Like, I did not like that movie at all. So you're right. There's a massive divide between they're silly and they're serious, and I don't know how they're going to bring all that together.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's a new Batman movie coming out, and it's supposed to be his darkest take yet, right? So.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about next season.
Okay. So we've talked about Starman sticking around to train Courtney, so that's good. I am all for somebody sticking around to train and to work with these younger members of the JSA. Okay.
Well, you wanted that, and so this is part of your wish coming true, and I like the idea because it's Starman, the full-on experienced hero with the staff. Someone can finally give Courtney the proper training and knowledge to do more than she's doing and to be a better hero. Right. A lot of our listeners are like, oh, Courtney's such a good leader, and blah, blah, blah. I just don't agree with that. She has struggled to me, and she needs help. So I am happy that Starman is here. It's going to be weird. He's living in their basement. That's strange. But let's see what they do with it. I think it'll be good for Courtney for sure.
Well, and the other thing that I like about him is he is one of the heroes that actually grew up a hero. He was a all-star kid, and then as he grew, he became Starman once he got the cosmic staff. So he knows what it's like to be a teen hero and then to, graduate, so to say. Right. And so I think he has a lot more to offer than some of the others who became heroes as adults. Because Green Lantern became a hero as an adult. All these other ones became heroes as adults. And so I'm glad it's him doing that kind of instruction with her, because he can say, listen, I was a hero when I was a teen, and I grew into stuff, and I had to change and learn. And so I'm glad it's him doing that instruction.
Yep, good points. I agree with you.
So Beth has found out that Chuck's wife, where she's at, and also the fact that Chuck has a 10-year-old son. And so I'm glad. I am really happy that Chuck is getting a happy ending. He's been separated from his family for all this time. Yes, there's going to have to be a lot of work when you've been missing for 10 years, presumed dead. And
is she with somebody else?
Yeah, I think Beth would have told him if just to prepare him, because she was very careful on how she told him about his son. So I'm glad that even with the work that Chuck is going to get some payoff for all that time that he spent away from his family and get a semi-happy ending. But he gives the mantle over to her.
I fully thought he's got a son to take on his legacy now. I didn't expect it to give it to her. At the same time, I also knew he has to give it to her, otherwise Beth now becomes completely useless on this show. So maybe he's done with being a hero. He was a hero. He got trapped in Shadowlands. He's lost 10 years of his life. He's coming back. He just wants his family. That's it. He's going to retire and go be with his family. So whether we ever see him again, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
But he was a cool character. I was glad to have him on the show, and he was good for Beth. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to move this point up. Beth's parents are, and I'm going to put quotes around this, magically thrilled that she's a superhero and a member of the JSA. They're so thrilled that they want to make a nanotech suit for her, and they're giving their marriage another try. I'm just like, they just don't know what to do with her parents.
I know, it's like a night and day switch, but I guess the way you can look at it is they're such high achieving individuals themselves that they focused everything on their careers and everything. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they see their daughter start on a path that's also equally high achieving is probably what got them excited, and they're all for it. Like their daughter's a superhero, she's a doctor. I guess in a way it makes sense. Like it's weird, but I was trying to think about how does it work? How does it make sense? Now is her dad some type of scientist, some type of engineer that he can work with nanotech to make her a suit, or do they just have connections that they can go pay for something like that? Because if Beth gets an upgraded suit and looks way cooler than she does, and she's got higher, like, awesome, cool tech, that would be fun. That would be fun for her instead of this weird this pajamas that she wears from the 1950s. Like,
I'd have to go back and look in the background that we've been given. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
It'd be cool if she gets upgraded because of them. I'd be fine with that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So we get to see that next season's titles is Frenemies, and it will air in 2022. Still no release date. I'm still betting on late spring, summer.
Yep.
Yeah.
The way it started. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. We see Yolanda coming out of church, and Cindy is there waiting for her. And she wants a second chance, and she wants to be a part of the JSA. And this is where I think Cindy is moving more to that gray area. I don't think she'll ever be totally the hero and totally white, but I think she's going to be that gray area. She's going to be that kid level, that teen level gray area where the shade was that dark area, that adult area gray level. So I think she's still going to fall into that frenemies category.
Well, let me just say something about that part first, because I know you're basically breaking the frenemies down to all the characters that are going to be quote-unquote frenemies. Now, I think that is going to be an absolutely fun idea for next season. If all these individual parts, you got Cindy, we got the Crocs, we got Shade, these people are sticking around that have been friends and enemies to our various characters on the show. So the fact that they're coming around and they're trying to make a better life for themselves and be good guys now, I think is going to make for a lot of entertaining stories and a lot of entertaining writing for us to watch. So I'm hoping that they do a lot of fun, because I love the Crocs and I love Cindy and we love Shade. Like these are three great sections of characters, and I think if we can focus the season around them, it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess I should respond to Cindy, because Cindy joining the JSA at the end there. I thought that was actually really wise of Cindy, knowing that nobody will say yes unless Yolanda okays it first. I thought that really smart idea there, Cindy. And and do we agree with Cindy saying, you've done some bad stuff, I've done some bad stuff, we're the same person, or we've done the same stuff, so if you're forgiven, maybe I should be forgiven too? Do we balance it out as they've done the same? I don't know, but she does have a point that everybody should get a second chance to prove themselves. So I I can't knock her for saying that or for trying, and let's keep her in the gray. That's all I'm asking. Keep her in the gray where they get into a big team-on-team fight and Cindy wants to kill to win and they have to keep... No. Send him to prison. Like that kind of stuff will be much better.
Yeah, agreed. That's what I really want to see. Yeah, definitely. And talking about gray characters, so we've talked about the Shade is sticking around Blue Valley, and I'm thrilled about that.
Everybody is, yeah.
But the cool thing that we get is he tells Rick that Grundy can be resurrected if he's buried at the right place and the right time, which is true to Grundy's lore. And so I'm happy to hear that they're sticking with Grundy's lore there,
because it's a very specific swamp-like area with specific chemicals and all that stuff that originally turned him into Grundy, brought him back to life. So that is cool. So now they have to figure out where that is. So does Shade tell them where that is? Because he didn't. Rick is like, are you going to tell me? And he never answers. But here's the only point that I have to nitpick about this whole thing. Grundy was killed in the middle of town. Rick does not have super strength, so how the heck did he drag that body way off to the forest?
Mike got Stripe rebooted and took him out.
That is the only answer, but we never saw it. So
that's my theory.
And Rick doesn't do a very good job of burying. He basically laid him on the ground and then just covered him with dirt. He became a mound and it wasn't buried in the ground. So. But that, I mean, it means Grundy might come back, so that's good. Rick has a best friend in a big scary monster.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we're thrilled about the Crocs being back in town and evidently living next door to the Duke and Whitmores.
I love it. I'm with you on Shade. I'm happy that Shade will be. How much of a regular character he'll be, I don't know, but as long as we keep getting him, that'll be good. But the Crocs, oh my god, they are my favorite. I wish we got more of them this season, but I just loved what we did get. The way Crusher and Pat, the chemistry between the two of them, and Crusher's just trying to be his buddy, and Pat's so uncomfortable about it. I love it. That is the most entertaining part for me, and just the way they showed up at the door at the end there with the big smile. I love it. I love this scenario. Them living right beside them, and how often Crusher's going to be knocking on the door every single day. Come on, Pat, let's do this. Come on, Pat, let's go work out. Come on, Pat.
Work out.
Yeah. And obviously, what's his wife's name? Tiger lady.
Tigress.
Tigress. She's obviously going to be trying to befriend Barbara because they had a bit of a spark. Yeah. It's going to be fun. I don't know what Artemis is going to do, if her and Courtney are becoming friends or what. But.
Well, you think about Young Justice and how big a role that Artemis played with Young Justice, and even becoming romantic with that version of Flash.
Kid Flash,
yeah. So, I really liked her character. I mean, she had to deal a lot with her parents' darkness and that kind of stuff in that series. So
yeah. And we all know, all of us like Artemis on the show, so I hope they do something really, really fun with her. I mean, she struggles with anger, so what's going to happen there? Yeah, it'll be cool. But definitely my favorite part of what's coming is this setup. Do we get the answers to how they're suddenly okay to buy a house and be out of prison and all that stuff? I hope so, but the setup for what's to come is my favorite thing to look forward to.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a Argus or Suicide Squad on Earth too. Yeah, they've got to be doing that, but I don't know.
Suicide Teens.
Yeah. So the very end of the episode, we have the Helix Institute with Nurse Love filling in Mr. Bones about Jenny and the JSA, and I was really wondering, how does she know about the events in Blue Valley?
Yeah.
How does she know that Jenny's got these friends and that they've they're living side by side, heroes and villains? I'm like, where is she getting this information? I mean, I'm wondering, like, is Jenny's brother, like, secretly spying on them from the shadows? I don't know. It's just...
I was going to ask you what your theories are, because I don't know, unless she's just got, like tech, spy tech, cameras, microphones. She's got a satellite in the sky that she's watching with.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, she's working for Mr. Bones. He's obviously a very powerful, influential, from what I read, political type of figure. So maybe he's got connections. Maybe he's watching everything, and she's just filling them in on, like, all right, nurse, your job is to watch Blue Valley. I got other people watching other towns. Maybe that's all it is.
Yeah, could be. But I was so excited to actually see Mr. Bones, which I didn't think we were going to see Mr. Bones this season. But to hear Mr. Bones, and not from just any voice actor, but Keith David of Gargoyles and Soliver from The Flash, and he was on Community, narrated Ken Burns' Jazz. He's got that epic
He's got a good voice.
And
yep.
So it's so nice that we're getting a great vocal artist next season, as one of our big bads. So
well, it makes me. I mean, there's probably an actor playing the part, and they're just CGIing his head. So maybe this Keith David is playing the part too. I don't know, but I have to say, there's only two things in this world that I'm scared of: needles. I'm extremely needle phobic, and skeletons. I hate skeletons. I hate Halloween with a passion, but every time I see an animated skeleton, I cannot wrap my head around it, because it's a dead thing. It should not move. It should not speak. So when I see an animated skull talking like that, that is my nightmares come true there. If he had pulled out a needle, I would have fallen over and passed out. Like so I don't know a lot about Mr. Bones. I just read up a little bit about him, but he seems to be more of he's not so much a villain that gets in the fight hand to hand. He's more of a guy that pulls all the strings from the background.
He's definitely, like we talked about the last episode when we were dealing with Helix. He is a behind the scenes, like he started off on that villain team, but he has moved up to be a master manipulator and does a lot. But he does have powers. He's got that invisible skin and that actually can kill if he doesn't watch. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. And so I'm excited about him, the prospect of Jenny and her brother, and that kind of dynamic leading into next season. And so that's where things, we got to see little hints of that throughout the season, and I'm glad that they kind of said, okay, we're going to make that a bigger part next season. So I'm happy about that.
I like how they wrap a season up with that by giving us hints as to where they're going. It means they've got a plan, they've got a story in place, and it's not just left hanging and then we don't know. So that's cool. I was a little bit worried there when we're having that little porch scene and Jenny's like, I'm out of here. I'm like, what? They're writing this character off and we hardly even got anything with her. But she is gone. She's gone to the other side of the country, so I don't know how much we're going to see her next season, she's going to get her own stories every once in a while. Well, I guess they're working towards something with her brother, whether she runs into her brother who's turned dark, or she finds him and rescues him because he's captured, and they have to team. Like, I don't know. At least there should be something there, which could be cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking that he is either working for or being manipulated by Bones and Helix, and so that's how we're going to get the tie in there.
Right.
But
cool.
One more point here is this was a short scene, and Cameron and his grandparents.
Oh, yeah.
So they're admiring his work, and they said, we need to tell you about your family history. And it's not just Grandma that has powers, it's Grandpa too. So the entire family, both sides, have frost ice powers. So, I kind of wished they would have just moved this to next season, because it felt like shun it in Cameron's stories in this season. I kind of wish they had left that to next season, but it's another thing that we're going to see next season. So
you've got a good point that it was shoehorned in here. It had no place in this episode because we didn't see Cameron at all until this scene, and we didn't see him for the last couple episodes either. The last time we saw him was a couple episodes ago, so it was squished in for no real reason other than to show us what's coming next season. But I called that way long ago. I said his whole family is ice-powered. It runs in his family. I wanted the history of that. How far back does it go? Are we going to get... If we get to see his grandparents sharing their story, I would love to see flashbacks. Does it go all the way back to like the 1800s? Let's go down their family tree and see where it all began and why they all have powers. That to me would be really cool.
Right. It may bring in some Norse mythology that they're frost giants or crossbred with frost giants. Kind of bringing in, maybe they're like semi-Loki like, but anyway, we'll see.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's intriguing, and I want to know more. So, don't. What's the term I'm thinking of? Don't cheap us out on that. All right, all that talk is getting us to our favorite scenes.
Shape out and eagle.
So, out of this big old mess of an episode, what did you land on as a favorite moment?
So, I think it's a little naive, but I still like Courtney's light and dark side talk. And so let's take a listen to that, and then we'll talk about it.
We beat Eclipso because of you.
Well, we had some help from Cindy Berman, Tom and Grundy, the Shade, even the Crocs showed up.
Yeah, but it was because of you.
Eclipso was right about there being darkness in everyone, Sometimes we feel anger or jealousy or hatred, even if we don't want to.
I suppose that's true.
But the thing Eclipso did not understand is that there's good in everyone, too. Every single one of us. In the end, all Eclipso did was make me believe in people even more.
That's why the staff picked you. I'm not here to take it back, Courtney. But maybe I can show you what it can really do.
Yeah? That would be amazing.
Yeah, no, very amazing, but after summer school, all right? Okay?
School?
Yeah.
Superheroes don't need school.
I had that little last bit in for you. It was fun.
We all have to deal with negative emotions, and I like that she...
What are you getting at, X-Force?
We all have to fight our own personal reverse flashes and Sinestros.
Yeah.
But I like that she still sees the positive and the good in others. I mean, that's really her true power. Pat talked about earlier this season of being able to see the good and see that in others. And so I like that even with this, what she's gone through and what she's had to deal with, she still sees the good in people, and that even though that we've got negative emotions, we've got the positive ones too. So I like that.
Yeah, and this was a moment that was cool. I mean, that gave us the piece with Starman saying, hey, maybe if I show you how to use it, it'll help kind of thing. So the whole sequence was just really nice. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Pat and Courtney are starting to have these kind of scenes. Like, Pat is almost the the diggle of Stargirl, laying down the wisdom, and Courtney sometimes listens and sometimes doesn't. So, yeah, it was nice though. Yeah, I'll give you that for sure. All right, my scene. There wasn't a lot for me to pick for favorite scenes out of this episode for me, but I'll play it and I'll tell you why I picked it. You've already heard why I like this one, but it's called "What the F."
Isn't this nice? We're all back to normal.
Well, our normal.
Oh, I heard the house next door sold.
I got it.
Okay.
Howdy, neighbor.
Good morning, Mr. Dugan. We brought muffins. Blueberry.
What the?
The fact that the Crocs bought the neighbor's house and we're right next door gives me hope that they'll be around full time next season, and maybe Crusher and Pat can become best friends. And then ending it with Courtney saying, "What the f," it's a perfect cap to this episode of exactly what I've been feeling, a WTF for this whole episode. So it had to be my favorite. I could not think of anything else. And it was funny. I mean, the music and everything, Stargirl does that really, really wonderfully, or really great, with the lighthearted, tippy-toe kind of fun jingle music. They do that well. I'll give that to them.
Yep.
All right, guys. We are moving on to feedback in just a moment.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends. Don't keep it to yourself now. Come on, baby, talk to us. It's feedback.
Yeah. All right, let's kick it off. Our Stargirl finale feedback. We got a fair amount of it in. This is quite fun. Where are we going to go first? We're going to go to Ken from Chicago on Twitter. What's he have to say?
The Stargirl Season 2 finale, and then he gives it 3 claps, where we see the power of truth, hope, optimism, and love. Also, Martin doubted that Eclipso was barely defeated by the old JSA, and even scared off the ISA. No way Courtney and her Scoobies could plausibly defeat him. He was right.
So are you half and half on it, Ken? That's what I'm wondering. You give it 3 claps, but then you're like, I was right about the whole too easy to beat. I'm curious. All right. We got a new feedback email in from someone named Elena Davis. I believe it's Davis. I typed David for some reason. Elena Davis says, "Hello, Tomorrow's Legends. First of all, I would like to say that I'm a long-time listener and a first-time writer, so apologies in advance for any typos or if this is a long email." Elena, we don't care how long or how short it is. The fact that you're sending us in feedback is awesome, so welcome to the team. You are now part of the Cosmic Crew.
Yeah.
And thanks for being a long-time listener. We love hearing from you guys out there that have been with us for a while, and we just didn't know. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I love the episode and the awesome fight scene that they gave us. Oh, she's not gonna like me tonight. A part of me hopes that we haven't seen the last of Eclipso. Personally, I kind of miss old-school villains like him. As much as people want more context from villains, I feel like writers sometimes overdo it to the point where the villains sometimes lose what make them scary and terrifying. Look at Zoom from Flash. They gave us backstory, but they didn't overdo it to the point where they made him sympathetic, and he was still terrifying. While I'm not sure about the comics, I like that the staff also got some backstory. It has the power of creation and a conduit for enlightenment. I really hope that the writers don't just ignore that. Still not sure about Cindy joining the group, but I can see her being the wild card of the group. I just hope that they really don't gloss over the fact that she sent out Yolanda's picture with a simple "I'm sorry," or trying to compare their mistakes. Both of what they did are very different. Sorry to bring out my aggressive side early, but a part of me is hoping for at least one beatdown by Yolanda for Cindy first. That'd be a good fight to see them go to toe-to-toe. While I already can't wait for Season 3, I would like to ask, and maybe it's too soon in the series, but can you guys see the new JSA becoming public figures soon? Or being acknowledged by the public yet? Personally, I like them having their own secret wars in the shadows, away from the public eye, and not having to talk to reporters or smile for the crowd, at least for now. I mean, even going back to Season 1, I never really got the idea that the town was so bad and full of crime that it needed the JSA fighting bank robbers or drug dealers. Yeah. That's the end of her email. She's got a good point there that our heroes are pretty much in hiding. It seems like the town has no clue what's going on. Yeah. The villains were definitely in hiding. Nobody knew that. And we never really got an answer as to why Blue Valley? Why is all the villains here? And why is our team suddenly... I mean, our team wasn't here originally, but they are now. So, will they stay hidden? Or is the public going to start waking up to their town constantly being wrecked?
Yeah, I think you can maybe take it the Smallville route where you build up, you train, you do that type of stuff in Blue Valley for a while, and then once you have them older, college age and that kind of stuff, maybe they move to town and move to a more public venture there. So,
well, they have the JSA headquarters in, what's the name of the city that it's in?
Oh, gosh. It's outside of Philadelphia, but I can't, I'm zoning on the name, yeah.
Yeah, I lost it too. But anyway, that's where the original headquarters are in. And the world knows about the JSA. They know that's where they're headquartered.
Right.
So maybe you're right, this teenage team just sticks around here for now, training and learning. And when they're ready to be in the public eye, they move to that town, reignite the JSA and let the world know, hey, we're here.
Yep.
We're back. All new heroes. But to me, it still doesn't make sense that nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows about them. That's, to me, is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
What destroyed the cafeteria in the school? Anyway, awesome to have you aboard, Elena. Glad to hear from you. Next up is Comic Geek Kev.
Hello, legendary cosmic crew. Yeah. So, that happened. Rip, Grundy. Hey, new neighbors. Open the door for Shade to return? Yes. A new member of the JSA? And full-on Director Bones? Yeah.
Yeah, all of that.
Yep. Last week, I was kind of hoping for a cliffhanger, and I think I would have been very happy with that. But I think they did a pretty darn good job of wrapping things up for this season. The action scenes were plentiful, even if all of the CGI and wire work wasn't perfect.
Thank you.
Eclipso climbing the roof and, as always, Grundy were very not great. A few of the wire shots were tough, but overall I thought most of it was well done. As expected, we got to see the team and assorted guest stars show up for the final battle. I did not expect to see Starman, but when Barb opened the door and said, "It's you," I was pretty sure it was him. By the way, writers, "It's you" is just an awful line to make an actor have to say. There's no way not to have it sound like it needs to be followed up by dum dum dum.
I'm so glad you're with me on that. But you were quicker than me. I thought it was Shade at the first, but you're so right. Dun, dun, dun. It's you. Worst line ever.
Yeah.
It goes up there with when somebody is locked in a room or wakes up locked and they're all alone. I hate when they yell out, somebody help, somebody. Like, why are you yelling it sounds silly.
Yeah. I hope Beth's parents follow through with being there for her, and now I'm dying to see what they think they can do with the Doctor Mid-Nite suit.
Yeah.
Me too. Anything would be an improvement. I thought Rick pulling in Grundy when he couldn't get his powers back was great, a great story idea. It would have seemed too easy for him to suddenly be able to fix the hourglass. Plus, it was great. It was a great way to have Grundy join the fight.
Yep.
Given what Shade said about burying him, I'm guessing that door is left open. But I was literally mouth agape when Eclipso blew a hole in him.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yep.
I loved seeing Yolanda versus quote-unquote Ted and Cindy versus quote-unquote herself. Pat versus Pat was fun as well, but once again, if that was Stripesy Pat, there should have been more of a difference between them. Oh, well.
Yes, that age and time thing, which wasn't answered either.
Yep. Seeing the Star folks join up with the staff made me really, really need an explanation for the staff. If it's technology, how does it choose someone? Did Sylvester make it? If so, that would be great if he explained it along with his disappearance, like Pat said he would. But that scene was pretty cool.
Agreed.
Yep. I'm still a fan of the actual Eclipso, and I think you need that for the fight scenes. Yes, Milo does the evil kid very well, but I don't know that you could have had the same fights with a little kid. In this case, I feel my defense of Eclipso is fully justified. Yeah.
Well, with that one point, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I even said that last week, that you can't have the kid do the fight sequences for sure. But Eclipso had to be there. He just epic failed.
Yeah. Yeah. Very happy to see Thunderbolt back and help in the final battle. And turning Eclipso to toast right down to the two-tone coloring. Genius. But no, showrunners, we don't need a team of Mike, Jakeem, and Thunderbolt. Agreed. Maybe a one-episode story where they realize it won't work. But please, no more. Along with keeping the team small, we need one.
Yeah, and you need, I think Pat should be the one piloting Stripe. It's his robot. He should be the guy. Not sending your 12-year-old kid into battle. Come on.
Yeah. On that subject, the cast is growing, and we are certainly going to see Todd next season. While I love the team aspect, I hope they keep in mind that the show is Stargirl. I don't want to see it go down the road that Supergirl has, where it doesn't even seem to be about her anymore.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you there. Keep the team tight. Have the occasional guest star, and keep the stories for the most part about Courtney. Agreed. In conclusion, although they ended without a cliffhanger, I think it was done better than last year's rush job. And the setup for next season's Frenemies was great. I just want to know how it's going to work when Artemis broke them out of jail. How are they going to stay out? I hope they at least attempt to explain that.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I'm giving this episode 9 out of 10 chainsaw hands, largely due to the effects. Looking forward to next season and the accompanying podcast. Comic Geek Kev.
Wow,
Thanks so much, Kev.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Kev. You're too kind to the show, but that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Someone out there has to when I'm all yellow suit wearing Flash. Yeah, you guys have to enjoy it. So, next up is Dad L. Hello, Stargazers. I have mixed feelings about the finale. Let me get a few things off my chest first. Our heroes went to battle Eclipso with no real plan. What did they think was going to happen? Dr. Mid-Nite could have rigged up some glasses to allow our team to see reality. He could have streamed what he saw to their own goggles. At the very least, why couldn't our heroes see through the lies? They've seen this before. They should have been mentally prepared for seeing the false visions. They should have been training mentally, and I know they are teenagers, but that would have shown some serious growth as heroes. Excellent points.
Yep.
There was no real struggle for Courtney. We didn't see any real consequences for her or the team. Grundy died, but apparently he can regenerate. Dr. Mid-Nite was written off too quickly. I'm concerned about Mr. Bones as the presumptive villain for Season 3. A CGI villain is hard to pull off. Yeah, I agree with you. No struggle for Courtney at all. At all. Now, to the positives. This episode did have nice action. Everyone got a moment to shine, especially Zeke. I love this guy, and I hope he will be the official JSA mechanic. Yeah, well, then, yeah, I guess he could take over for Pat. Sure. We finally see the striped chainsaw and flamethrower. I enjoyed Starman's appearance and the fact that he can really teach Courtney how to use the staff. Shade will be sticking around. Cindy reflects on what she has learned and is potentially having a change of heart. I think I'm liking this possible redemption, and who isn't excited for the new neighbors? Normally this would be a great episode, but as a season finale, it wasn't enough for me. I give it 7 burnt pieces of toast. I miss the days of Arrow when we had what seemed like 2 or even 3 episode finales. This was essentially a 20-minute finale with 20 more minutes of season 3 setup. I'll be back with y'all in 2022. Dad L, last father of Krypton. I think he's on the right path. Yeah, I feel a lot of what he's feeling.
Yep.
For sure. Good stuff, good stuff. Next up is Perry White.
Perry White here with feedback for Stargirl, Summer School Chapter 13, or as I like to call it, Risky Business. As in, the show appears too afraid to take risks.
Ah, I like it, I like it. Interesting, weird fact, completely random. I had a dream about Tom Cruise last night. I was trying to be his friend, and he didn't want nothing of it. It was the weirdest thing. Anyway, go on.
By the way, hate me now because I needed to send in an email to capture all my thoughts. Fair warning, this is long.
That's why I gave it to X-Force.
I'll get this out of the way. I enjoyed the episode. I thought the action sequence flowed. I absolutely loved little Eclipso kid. And certainly I love that the Shade is back. Now that's out of the way, let's talk about the issues I had, or more importantly, what I wished happened instead. Number 1, no one likes best parents. They no longer serve a narrative purpose. I'm not saying they should have died, but if they decided to leave Blue Valley and left Beth with Pat and Barb or Dr. Mid-Nite, it wouldn't have hurt my feelings one bit. The characters have been written as one note and boring since season 1. Then at the end of season 2, the writers decide to make them quote-unquote more clingy as a part of Beth's life and her heroism? No thanks. Certainly as a black man, it does mean something to have a black couple represented on television. But it means more to have interesting, captivating, and integral black couples on television. Definitely got to see that with Black Lightning. So, yep. Best parents meet none of those attributes, and honestly, they're just taking up space. Agree with you there.
Yeah, so let's just hope, Perry, fingers crossed, that they somehow have connections to help her build a new suit, and that gives them purpose, and maybe that'll be fun.
Yeah. 2. Since the writers did nothing to connect the audience with Eclipso's character or his motivations, I'm glad that he is no longer the big bad going into next season. However, I wish the writers had given us his backstory and fleshed out his character more. While I was not a fan of Eclipso in that cosplay outfit as an adult, the kitty Eclipso was fascinating.
We couldn't agree more on those points.
Yep. Milo Stein, at 7 years old, was one of the best performers on the show this season as young Bruce Gordon / Eclipso host. Kid plays creepy exceptionally well, so I wished we could have gotten more of him. Yep. Number 3. I wish we could somehow have gotten more of Dark Courtney. While I'm not a huge fan of cliffhangers, this is how I believe the episode should have ended. We should have gotten more of Dark Courtney inhabited by Eclipso. It would have been much more narratively dramatic if we had gotten more JSA members to figure out how to fight her without injuring her, while also not speechifying her into submission.
Oh, yes. What do they call that? The bad guy monologuing or exposition, whatever, when he just has to talk through every fight scene.
Right. Eclipso, with the powers of the cosmic staff, and could have been one of the most powerful villains in the Arrowverse. And if his character was properly fleshed out, and we had gotten to see more of his control of Courtney, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Agreed. And you could have still brought in Starman. They could have just brought him in at the very end, with him standing opposite Dark Courtney and the screen gone black, with everyone wondering if they were going to fight it out going into Season 3 or what. Yep, that's what we were speculating.
Yeah, you're right along with everything I was saying this episode, for sure. Yep.
4. While it was painful to watch Solomon Grundy die, question mark, because we know his resurrection history, at least it provided some stakes in this finale. Watching Grundy arrive on the scene when Rick admitted he didn't have any powers was certainly reminiscent of the Avengers Infinity War when Loki says to Thanos, "We have a Hulk."
Yeah, another good reference. Yep.
Yeah. His death, while it may not have been permanent, did generate some despair in this episode. However, I don't think the show took enough chances. Beyond Grundy, there needed to be more collateral from this fight, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think Beth's parents should have been scared out of Blue Valley. I think Stripe should have been ripped in half, with Mike being seriously injured. It seems like we're back with the status quo.
Oh, you're so right.
Perry Flash is loving this. Number 5. Too many characters for next season. Let's count them now. Courtney, Pat, Barbara, Mike, Beth, Rick, Yolanda, Cindy, The Shade, Jakeem, Sportsmaster, Tigress, Artemis, Mr. Bone, and his minions. That's a whole lot of folks for which to build cohesive narratives. It was already tough getting balanced narratives for the characters we had, and now we're getting more. To combat that, I think the show needs to take an anthology approach to next season, in which is appropriately titled Frenemies. They should pair Courtney, Cindy, and Yolanda so that they can sort out how to be the show's Charlie's Angels.
I love it, yeah.
You can even throw Artemis in there as a fourth angel, and you can add Starman in sorta as the Charlie role. I like it.
It's a fun idea.
Yep. Then they should pair Beth and Rick as she tries to help him rebuild the hourglass.
Okay.
Then they need to pair Pat, Sportsmaster, and Barbara and Tigress hanging out at the backyard barbecues, having drinks on the front porch, and talking about raising crazy kids. I like it. They need to pair Mike and Jakeem and Jade, and they're trying to come to grips with their powers and abilities. Okay?
That's the only one I don't agree with.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
They've got to find something for best parents to do other than being annoying. Since the Shade is like bacon, he makes everything better. He can drop in and spend some time with all the character groups. But since he and Barb have such good chemistry, build on that. Just don't turn it into some type of love triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's like his little sister, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that idea of him just popping around, for sure.
Yep. The show has to take advantage of having Joel McHale and Keith David on the show next season. They're big freaking stars, and the show, if it wants to grow and get better, has to take advantage of their presence. I'm not saying that they should overshadow the younger cast, but they need to be integral parts of next season.
Well, think of the Young Justice cartoon. It's centered and focused on all the teenage superheroes trying to become adult heroes, and every once in a while, the Justice League, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and everyone else come along and help them with a mission or teach them something or whatever. It's still focused on the kids. That's what Stargirl can be.
Yeah. And I think maybe you can take Starman and the Shade and maybe get them to go help Jenny see what's going on with her brother and Mr. Bones, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Back to the email. Overall, I was really impressed with the show's use of horror this season. Next season seems to be taking a buddy cop approach. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. If I have to give this episode a rating, I'll give it 9 burnt pieces of toast out of 10. By the way, since Eclipso is literal toast, can he come back to life as part of a well-balanced breakfast? This has a magnus opus by one Perry White, and I'm out.
A magnum opus by Perry. Yeah. Oh man.
Good stuff.
Good stuff, Perry. Good stuff. I'm surprised you sent that in as the email instead of voice and all of that, but that's good. It's all right. Next up is Patty Spivot.
Hey guys, it's Lisa calling in. I can't remember if I have a Stargirl nickname, so it's Lisa or Patty Spivot. I haven't been around much, but I'm trying to keep up. I just wanted to call in because it was the finale, and this will be the finale podcast episode, and I just kind of had some thoughts. I really liked getting to see all of the characters all together, all doing their thing. I actually liked how they handled Eclipso when they were flipping him back and forth between the creepy kid and the big bad guy. I liked, he was finally kind of scary, finally. And I really enjoyed how the graphics and stuff were, and how they flipped him back and forth between the shadow and the light. I thought that was really cool the way they did it. I love Shade, and I'm super happy that he actually survived and is back and is hanging out in Blue Valley. That makes me really look forward to next season. I don't know what it is about him, but he really grew on me right away, and I get quite a kick out of his whole demeanor and vibe. I didn't super love the episode. I thought they kind of tied everything up in neat little bows, and I don't always love when they do that, but generally speaking, I think it ended the way it was expected to end, and they revealed the big bad for next season, I'm assuming. And I am chuckling because Martin is afraid of skeletons. That's his creepy thing. And he's been laughing at me because there's been like zombies and all kinds of scary things in the shows that we're watching, and I finally get to laugh at him. Anyways, I just thought I'd call in and say bye-bye for a while, and I'll look forward to the season starting up again when I get to hear your shiny, happy voices again. Talk to you soon.
She just had to get some jabs in there. I get it. I know what it's all about. Fun stuff there, Patty. I think she's been known as Patty's Pivot across the board. I mean, it's still the Legends show, so that hasn't changed. Awesome stuff. Man, she had a point, and I forgot I wanted to respond to, and it was she says she likes shade, and I'm thinking to myself, I might have to get a little bit more gray, a little, like lean towards the gray, because who does she like? She loves Leonard Snart. Who does she love in this show? The Shade. They're the gray characters that keep, tiptoeing on the dark side. So I think she's trying to tell me something. Next up is Dreamweaver.
Hello, Cosmic Crew. Dreamweaver here with my feedback for the Stargirl Season 2 finale, and I have complicated feelings. I'm giving this episode 6 total Eclipsos of the heart out of 10.
Oh.
There were elements I liked, but this had the same shades of the Season 1 finale. Great potential, room for an actual change to the status quo, which I guess in a few cases there were, but after a season full of darkness and facing down fears, everyone just seems happy and bubbly at the end, like nothing happened. Where's the fallout? I did enjoy about the first 20 minutes of this episode. I know you didn't like just about any of the fighting, Martin, but I did enjoy the stuff in the American Dream building. I like seeing Dr. Mid-Nite and Beth suit up together, and they must have tailored Beth's suit because she is much smaller than Dr. Mid-Nite, and that suit would have never fit. And now Beth's parents know about her. But her parents just getting over the divorce because they discovered their daughter is a superhero? That's the whole resolution there? As someone whose parents got divorced when I was a kid, all that drama and wrestling for Beth, leading to what essentially just felt like a cheap shot. Yolanda watching Cindy heal and basically put her bones back in place did kind of make me laugh because it was such teenage girl reactions with Yolanda just going, ew, and Cindy just going, whatever. It's kind of funny.
That was fun.
Rick, though.
Yeah.
So we see him trying to recreate or fix the hourglass, and it's got electric circuits. That was interesting to see. It's not just a holder for the Miraclo. I was not expecting there to be electronics within the hourglass. And I guess it would be fast, but he didn't get anywhere on it, but decides to just rush into the fight anyway. The moment of him teeing up Grundy's entrance was nice, but also disappointed to see Grundy go. I was full on expecting someone to be badly hurt or even killed in this finale, seeing how powerful Eclipso is, but I wasn't expecting it to be Grundy. That made me a bit mad. And then Mike. He operated Stripe. Mike has not earned that. Pat should have been in there. Pat made the right call in leaving him to be safe at the garage. Jakeem was understanding of that. Mike was not. The chainsaw to Eclipso's face was a bit cool, but the slow-mo of Thunderbolt was weird. Why do they keep using slow-mo on Thunderbolt's effects? It just makes it look awkward. I did laugh at Zeke seeing Thunderbolt and just completely going along with everything weird happening, and how much Chinese food he had. Made me kind of hungry. One of my biggest complaints was that Courtney was possessed for all of 1 minute. I'm pretty sure that was the actual amount of screen time. I was looking forward to this potential turn and what that could mean for everyone, or what she might do under Eclipso's influence and how that could drive her story along. But all that happened was she stood around and laughed maniacally. She didn't even do anything. There was no consequence. And why was it that Starman was the one that saved her? For the surprise and reveal that the staff is still connected to him and that he made it to Blue Valley? Because besides wishing they were related, or that he was her mentor, Courtney has no connection to Starman. Why wouldn't it have been Pat, or her mom, or her friends to save her? These all had really loose, complete storytelling aspects, which these should be the moments that bring the season arcs together and give us that payoff to what's been happening. Give us those moments of seeing them, the characters, realize that change, or realize the thing they need to do, and then have that happen. But that's not what happened here. And Sylvester seems like normal Sylvester. But I'm still not completely buying that he's the real Sylvester, considering we saw the body, that Pat saw the body, and he even says that at the end here. And we know that if you don't see the body, then it's up for kind of grabs if they're still alive, but usually seeing the body does, and I'm still not over the fact of the first episode that there was definitely something off about him. And some more gripes, I'm sorry, but why bring on all the Crocs just at the very end of the fight? Why not include them earlier and see the whole family in action? I do love that they are neighbors now, but also somehow they just got released from jail after breaking out again. And 3 beams of light hitting Eclipso as he's sitting on his butt is how they ultimately take him out. They turn him into toast. A dark entity into toast. For the younger audience, I'm sure that's funny. It's almost a bit like the ridiculous charm in Harry Potter, but for that to be the ending to Eclipso, who this whole season has barely had to lift a finger in order to defeat everyone so far, who beat the old JSA while he was still in the diamond. What? Really? In the end, there was so much potential here that just didn't play out. And they did make a misstep in what Carrie has been saying in not fleshing out Eclipso and his plans more, and instead revealing them in the 11th hour here instead of cluing us in along the way, or giving more backstory into how Eclipso was, born, or how the diamond was made. And Shade. I love that he's back, don't get me wrong, he's an awesome character. But the way they brought him back, with absolutely no saying as to, how, it was kind of a really quick, my connection to the Shadowlands was still there, and because the rip in Dimensions was happening, and his death was just a fake out. Okay, there was a lot cooler ways that they could have brought him back. Show him slowly materializing because of that rip in the Shadowlands or something of that nature, but they just treated it like a joke again. They really love treating all these emotional things like jokes sometimes. Anyway, I am interested in seeing Mr. Bones and the Helix storyline next season. That could be really interesting. But, and I know that this is a show about teenagers, and this is very on brand for teenagers, but I'm not looking forward to next season being called Frenemies. I just don't like that. Anyway, sorry to be negative again, but as soon as the fighting started within 2 minutes of the opening, I had a bad feeling about how quickly the action would wrap up here. At least Cameron was in this episode. Even if he was in one scene and missed all the action. At least his powers are coming, and we should hopefully see that next season. This season has had some really good parts and elements to it, but in my opinion it just wasn't as strong as the first season. Maybe they shouldn't have gone for a villain like Eclipso right away. Also, how did no one in the town, again, notice anything was happening? Come on, let's see some fallout, or some town folks at least running away. Let's just see some cleanup, right? Anyway, those are all my thoughts for now. Tuesday wasn't the best night for television this week. Legends, however, is killing it this season, so looking forward to talking about that tomorrow. Until next time, your friend, or enemy, Dreamweaver.
Enemy. Always great that you end our feedback with some fun and thoughtful discussion points. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Perry and Dreamweaver are right in line with me tonight, so I appreciate that, my friends. You guys are my friends this week. She's got some good points. Can't really argue them. Yeah, it's... What was the one thing she had mentioned at the end there? Shoot, boy, my tired brain is forgetting things. That's the problem with these really long feedbacks, is I think I forget what I wanted to respond to. I lost it. All right. All we want to do is say thank you to everybody for our finale feedback. I love it when our finale comes and we get tons of feedback. That's just a lot of fun.
Yes.
So there is Legends still going on tomorrow, guys, so you guys want to get in feedback for that still? Otherwise, Stargirl's going to be gone until probably spring, summertime, so we'll hear from you guys then as well. But this is what you got to do.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
All right, X-Force. This is our new tradition. It's the end of a season, a big finale, and we are going to give our season our season overall ratings.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I gave this one 8.5. I liked it better than last season.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they left some things for next season, and I'm glad about that, but I still wish they had done some things better. But overall, I liked it better than last season.
Okay. Oh, short and sweet. I'm opposite of you. I'm giving this whole season a 6.5. I think last season was far, far better in story, in character building, in fun moments, and just overall really good Young Justice-style superhero TV. I think there's just too many things about this one that are eating away at it for me, especially a villain that really turned out to be nothing to be concerned with. I mean, think Vandal Savage from Legends and how everyone complained about him. Well, to me, he was way more interesting of a character to follow than Eclipso was, because there was story and background. Yeah, maybe it wasn't always executed great, but there was substance to him. This season was just an epic bust that I can't forgive, especially this failed finale once again. So I landed at a 6.5. There you go, guys. That is it for our Stargirl coverage for this year. Yeah, as soon as we find out about when it's coming back, you'll hear it from us right away. And you guys, our faithful listeners, are often beating us to the punch. Someone might post it in the Facebook page. So check out the Tomorrow's Legends Facebook group as well. And then one thing we want to remind people, we've been meaning to get back on there. We're getting a lot of requests to join the Facebook group, but there's some questions in there that you guys have to answer to get accepted into the group. So, and there's a lot of requests coming in and nobody's answering the questions, and we're frankly denying those. So, because we don't know, there's a lot of scamming profiles and phishing profiles and stuff out there that don't do that. So that's what we want to just remind you guys of. If you want to join the Facebook group, make sure you answer the questions, all 3 of them. I think there's 3, and then we'll let you in. No questions asked.
Yep.
No questions asked after we ask you the questions. Haha.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, that's it. So anything else coming for us next for us other than Legends tomorrow?
Nope, looks like we're on track, and as soon as we know dates about when Superman and Lois is coming back, we'll let you know that as well. So
yeah, I mean, news is starting to leak about that show a little bit. So yeah, they might be getting things going, and you never know, they might surprise us. I'm curious what their time in the year they want Superman to be at.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Not sure. All right. Well, that's all we got for you guys. We'll be back in your ears tomorrow night for Legends. Everyone have a good night. So The Flash signing off.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Oh, and goodbye, Blue Valley. We'll see you next summer. Bye.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network.